السلام عليكم.
So I think it's just us today, so we'll begin. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. يقول المصنف رحمه الله: فصل في فرائض الوضوء. A section in the obligatory actions of wudu. The famous number of فرائض الوضوء are 7 in the madhab. Some of the scholars within the madhab have added others. Some of them have combined them to count them in a different way. But this is the main core way to count them. So let's first begin with what is the mashhur. النية في أوله ولا يضر عزوبها بعد غسل وجهه. So the intention, the niyyah of wudu, and it doesn't harm to have it after having washed the face. So it doesn't have to be at the very, very beginning. If you've begun washing your face, it's no problem. But if you have the intention after everything is washed, then that is something else. And the point of the niyyah is not to say a specific thing. It's not to necessarily say my intention is to make wudu. It is to have the intention of رفع الحدث or the حكم of it. رفع الحدث, the accidents. It is to enter a state in which you are able to do what the hadath has prevented you from doing. So if you have woken up from sleep, you make wudu with the intention of making salah permissible after sleeping has made it impermissible, to enter that state of tahara. If you do it after urinating or another form of hadath, then you make it with the intention of removing the barrier that this hadath has placed on you to enter that state of tahara, right? It's not a specific statement. Uh, I to say in your head, I have the intention of making wudu for the salah. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just the general intention of uh, making tahara, as opposed to someone who, for example, is going swimming, right? And he after that takes a shower and he scrubs all the parts of wudu. If later on he's about to pray and he thinks to himself, I've already washed my face and arms and wiped my hair and my feet, then this does not suffice because he did not have the intention, right? So the point is to do this action with the intention of entering the state of tahara. And if one, washes their face, begins to wash their face, and then has the intention and continues wudu, then it doesn't harm the wudu.
Sheikh,
Yes.
sorry, if he were to be at his arms when he remembers, is it okay that he has the intention then? I mean, are the arms to the
According
in
to
the
the
front?
author, no. According
Because
to, yeah.
yeah, I thought it had to be into the by the first faridah. So would he, if he forgot, while he's washing the face, would he just have the intention the next time he puts
It is
water
the
on his
first.
face?
It is the first volume.
Yeah, I meant, so he says, ولا يضر عزوب, what does he say? عزوبها بعد غسل وجهه.
Yes.
So, so let's say now he's got to the hair and he forgets and he
No,
remembers that he doesn't have
that's
intention.
well into wudu. After at that
Yeah,
point, if you don't have the intention of wudu, then just restart it if you're already
yeah.
there.
And
And
so
the
if
same
some,
thing, it's the same
yeah,
thing for salah, for example. Sometimes you're in a jama'ah and your mind is a little, you're wandering a bit, and you make takbir, for example, and you forget, you forgot that you're praying also, but 5 seconds into the takbir, you remember you're praying also. It's the same thing. Uh, but if you're doing it, 3 rak'ahs into the prayer, then you don't have the intention of praying also, right? You're at that point, we're lying to ourselves. So it doesn't matter if it's a few seconds of delay, a moment of delay. That's just to
Yeah,
remind ourselves what the point of the action is. So if you begin washing your face and then you realize you want to make wudu and continue to the arms, then that's okay. But if you wash your face and your arms and you say, okay, I might as well just do wudu, then no, you just restart, go to the face and the arms. Now the niyyah is the niyyah, not only in wudu, but in ibadat in general and forms of worship in general, is generally accepted to be from the fara'id and all the ibadat according to the jumhur and hadith, as opposed to some of the people from Ahlul Ra'i and the Ahnaf who believe that some actions require niyyah and some don't. So the Ahnaf, they don't believe a niyyah is necessary for wudu because wudu is part of it's an action part of the overall which leads to prayer, right? So for us, the Malikiya, we don't say, for example, that we need to have a separate niyyah for each body part, right? We make the niyyah of wudu in general. I don't have to make a niyyah to wash my face and then make a niyyah to wash my arms and then a niyyah to wipe my head. The same thing the Ahnaf say, it's that you don't need a niyyah for wudu. You just need a niyyah for prayer and everything, all these conditions before it, uh, uh, such as wudu, does not require a niyyah. And of course, we disagree because wudu is a ibadah in and of itself. Even if, generally speaking, we make wudu for the purpose of salah, wudu is a ibadah in and of itself. People can make wudu for different reasons. People can make wudu for salah. People can make wudu to read the Quran. People can make wudu just to be in a state of tahara, and that is a ibadah in and of itself. People can make wudu to, as we will get into in the next page or two, there's certain actions which are mustahab to make wudu for, such as visiting a ruler, such as teaching a lesson, such as all these things. So wudu is a ibadah even if prayer is not attached and it requires the intention. For you to receive reward for ibadah, you have to have the intention of ibadah. So that is the first, sorry. So the question someone's asking, so one can even make the intention to make permissible what was impermissible before, even if he's just washing all parts that are covered in wudu. Yes, the niyyah to make permissible what was impermissible before. So if salah was impermissible before, uh, if salah was impermissible before and he has the intention to make it permissible, this is exactly what the intention uh, entails. And if someone has the intention of making permissible a certain salah, right? I'm about to pray Dhuhr and I have the intention to make that salah permissible because it was impermissible to me before because I was muhdith. I had, for example, slept. Um, that intention does not limit the wudu to that salah, right? If you're in a state of tahara, you're in a state of tahara. This is what we call istishab, meaning if you've entered a shari state, then you remain upon that shari state until evidence points otherwise. So I can still pray Asr with that same wudu. Because even if I had the intention to make permissible dhuhr, I entered a state of tahara in general as a result. And that state of tahara in general does not disappear when Asr Salah comes. Wait. When it comes to the four main body parts, the four only body parts that are obligatory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم. So these four body parts are the ones mentioned in the ayah, and that's why these are the ones that are considered obligatory. So وغسل الوجه مع تخليل اللحية الخفيفة. So the washing of the face is the first one mentioned in the ayah, and it's the first one to be done. The face, the bottom of the face is obvious, is from the chin. Anything on the throat or the neck is not part of the face. As for the top of the top of the face is where the hairline usually is. What does this mean? It means some people are bald, for example. Do they wash their entire head because there's no hairline? No, it is where the hairline is supposed to be for a normal person. So if you've shaven your head or you are bald, you have no hair, um, or you have some condition where your entire face, entire forehead is covered in hair, then what is considered is where it is in usually for most people. As for if someone has a normal hairline, then it is to the hairline. Now, the washing, even if the face ends at the hairline, the washing does not. And the reason is it's not possible to stop exactly at the hairline and then wipe your head and cover the entire area. For it to be fulfilled, for it to be complete, a very tiny part has to be washed from the hairline, meaning you don't stop at the very minimum of where the hair reaches. You go a tiny bit above that, even if it is only 1 centimeter or half a centimeter. Because the قاعدة, the rule, the legal maxim tells us ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به. Actually, it's not even a قاعدة فقهية, it's a قاعدة أصولية. So it is universal. It's not applied to certain rulings and not. It's universal. It's a قاعدة أصولية. ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. If an obligatory action cannot be fulfilled except with something, then that something is also obligatory. Meaning you cannot wash the entire face except if you wash a tiny bit of the hair. Just a few hairs at the beginning. Again, even if it's just half a centimeter. Because that is the way that you can be certain that the entire face was washed. This is the top of the face. As for the sides, then it goes all the way to the ears. The ear itself is not included, but just before it. So up to the border of where the ear is. And across and the same, um, anything below that line and above that line is part of the face. So um, every part of the face must be touched. So you don't want to put your hand and wipe exactly in a straight line to the side of the ear and then stop, right? You want to make sure that you go up. Once you reach that point, you go above and you go under and you make sure all of the face was touched. You don't want to reach the bottom of the face in a straight line and then not go to the sides. You don't want to, for example, put your hand across your face and go to the chin and then not go to the two sides of the face, the two sides of the jaw, meaning. And the same thing for the top of your head. You don't want to go up to your hair and then stop. It has to be all places. So every place on the face must be touched within these borders. Even the crevices, between your, like under and around your nose and your eyes. Sometimes because your eyes, the sockets of your eyes, they're within your face, right? If you put your hand on your forehead and you wipe straight down, you won't cover your eyelids and the area around your eye, your hand will go straight to the top of your cheek. That's the top of your cheekbones, right? You want to make sure that the hand goes in and washes all the area around the eye because that is part of the face. And similar for the nose. You don't want to just wipe your hand across the nose because it won't cover all the areas. You need to make sure all the places of your face were touched under the nostrils, on the sides of the nostrils, on the sides of your nose, because all of these are part of the face, right? The obligatory action is not to wipe most of to wash most of your face. It is to wash the entirety of the face. So it is mandatory to make sure all of these places were touched with your hand and with the water, washing it with your hands. And the same applies to all of the body parts for which washing is mandatory. So the arms and the feet. And so the third obligatory action وغسل اليدين إلى المرفقين مع تخليل أصابعهما. Sorry, before we get into that, one last thing which I should mention about the face is the rulings of the beard. If the beard is thick, um, so you want to wash. If you have a beard, the person without a beard washes to his chin, the bottom of his face. The person with a beard, he washes the beard becomes part of his face, and he washes with his hand over the beard. Now, there's a difference between someone with a thick beard and a thin beard, and the difference in the definition between that is that the skin can be seen behind the hairs. So if you look at the mirror and you have hair on your face, you have a beard. However, it is not thick. The hair isn't everywhere. You can clearly see patches of skin under your beard, right? And some ethnicities have this more than others with genetics, right? They have long beards, but they don't have much hair. You can see the skin, right? For these people, it is wajib to reach the skin, for the water to reach below the beard and reach all parts of the skin on the face. As for someone with a thick beard, meaning you look at his beard and you can see it's black or brown or whatever hair color he has. It's a mass of hair. It doesn't have to be insanely thick, but you can look at it and you see the hair. You don't see the skin under his face. Um, this person only has to wipe on the beard. He doesn't have to wash deep into the beard and make the water reach the skin of his face under the beard. So this is the difference between a thick beard and a thin beard. طيب. This is what we call تخليل. So if a person has to get water down into the skin through his beard, this is an action which we call تخليل. So that's why it says مع تخليل اللحية الخفيفة. So وغسل الوجه مع تخليل اللحية الخفيفة, with تخليل of the thin beard. It's part of the obligation. So when we get to the غسل اليدين, we wash the entire hands up to the elbows, including the elbows. So you don't want to reach the border of the elbow. The elbow itself has to be included. And from the wajibat of the hands is to do takhleel of the asabi'. This just like we have to do takhleel of the beard, we have to do takhleel of the fingers. So we need to make sure that water reaches between the fingers and wash between all of the fingers, because that is part of the arms. طيب. One thing that some people accidentally do, as we know, it is from the sunnah to wash the hands. So the palms, the hands up to the wrists, we wash that before we make wudu as a sunnah. Some people wash their hands and then they begin with the obligatory actions. They go to the face and then they go to the arms. And they only do their wrists to the elbows because their hands are already wet. This is incorrect because when you were washing your hands in the beginning, you need to have the intention of fulfilling the obligatory action, right? So if you wash your hands and then begin with wudu, you go to the face and then the arms, you still have to do your hands again because you have to do your hands again with the intention of the obligatory action, the obligatory actions of wudu. So wash all of your hands again. All of the parts of the arm must be covered. The hand, the back of the hand, the front of the hand, the elbow, and everything in between all of these places, and between the fingers. تخليل الأصابع. ومسح جميع الرأس. The third body part is the head. So, um, ومسح جميع الرأس. The رأس, the beginning of the رأس, the beginning of the head, starts where the face ends. So the usual place where the hairline is. If you have a regular hairline, then you start at the top of the hairline, go all the way to the back. If you are bald or you have a shaven head or you have unusually low hairline up to your middle of your forehead or your eyebrows, uh, then you for these three people you would go where the hairline usually is. And similar to all the body parts, all of the head must be wiped. So from the beginning up to the end of your head is, uh, I forget the exact term in English, but if you feel at the back of your head, there is a specific point. It is almost a circle between, on your neck, you have two muscles that connect to your head. And between these two muscles that are similar to lines and they are parallel to each other and they connect to the back of your head. Between these two, you can feel a point. This is the back of the head and the end of the head. So you wipe from the beginning of your hair all the way to the back and the sides of your head count. So the hair that grows above your ears, um, beginning from the sideburns and what is above them. All of this is considered part of the head. So when one wipes, contrary to the Ahnaf and the Shafi'iyya, you have to wipe the entirety of the head. So some of the fuqaha will tell you, such as Imam Shafi'i says you only have to wipe three hairs, whereas the Ahnaf say that you have to wipe a third of your head or a quarter of your head. That is the minimum according to them. For us, that's not the case. The minimum is all of the head. All of it must be wiped. All of it, the hand must go across all of it while it is wet. ومسح جميع الرأس. Now, as for the person who has long hair, what we call مسترسل من الشعر, right? What is mursal from the sha'r, what goes down, what is sent down from the hair, then this is included as part of the hair. Sorry, included as part of the head, I meant. So one should begin at the beginning and use both hands on both sides and go all the way to the back with both hands, and that covers the fard. And from the sunan attached to this specific fard is to wipe again once you are done. So once you finish wiping the head, you finish the obligatory action. If there's still wetness in your hand, then you wipe from the back again to the front. This is a sunnah attached to the wiping of the head. Now, the person who wears um, any form of headband or has some form of, what do they call them? Not hair clips, the things that are tied as strings or as elastics, anything that is tied across the hair. It is permissible to wipe over them. So if there is a tiny bit of hair under it, then you can wipe over it, over this hairband or hair clip, unless it becomes too thick that it becomes almost something covering the hair. You know, if it's like a few centimeters thick or a few centimeters wide, then it is taken off. And that is the third obligatory action. And the fourth obligatory action is to wipe the feet, sorry, to wash the feet up to the ka'bayn, the ankles. And similar to how the elbow is included in the fard for the arms, the ankles are included in the fard for the feet. So the ankles themselves must be washed. And this is a common mistake most people make, even the Sahaba, in which the Prophet ﷺ gave his famous hadith, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ. He said, woe to the ankles from the fire, in reference to the fact that many people forget to make wudu of them. They wipe up to the ankles and forget the ankles themselves. So it is very important to always remember to wash the ankles from both sides and to include all of it in the place of wudu. وَيُنْدَبُ تَخْلِيلِ أَصَابِعِهِمَا. Now, we mentioned in the arms that it is obligatory to wash between the fingers. When it comes to the toes on your feet, it is only mandub. It is not obligatory to wash between the toes. That is the only exception in terms of covering all parts of the body part. As for all the other body parts, including the foot, everything else, every other area in the body part must be washed or wiped. As for any rulings pertaining to wiping over the khuffain, then this has its own chapter, own section later on. And the ayah of the body parts of wudu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as we mentioned, let me just type this. Just trying to use the annotation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ. O you who believe, if you get up to prayer, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ لِلصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ. Wash, he says, وَاغْسِلُوا. وَاغْسِلُوا is the command form of غسل, to wash. اغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ. And then he says, وَامْسَحُوا. And then he says, wipe. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, your heads. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. It says, why is this not? وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. So he says, wipe. He says, your hand. He says, wipe رُؤُوسَكُمْ وَامْسَحُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ. Then he says, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. He says, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ. Why are the feet obligatory to wash and not wipe? It's because he says وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, not وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ. So the jim, sorry, the lam وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, it has a fatha. It doesn't have a kasra. What is the difference? When he says وَاغْسِلُوا أَيْدِيكُمْ, وَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, these are مفعول به. In Arabic, we call them مفعول به. And anything that is a مفعول به, then the grammatical form is منصوب with a fatha. However, when he says وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, he adds the letter ba. The letter ba is what we call harf jar. So anything that comes after that is majroor. It's not mansoob. It doesn't have a fatha. It becomes majroor with a kasra. So it says وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. So the heads, the head, wiping the head is majroor. However, when we go back to the feet, it is mansoob. It's not majroor. So we know that the feet, the ruling of the feet is going back to the ghusl and not going back to the masah. Now there is a different qira'ah from the mutawatir qira'at that has arjulakum with a kasra. So we have one verse with a kasra and one with a fatha. Now when we have a verse of the Quran that comes down in two different qira'at with different meanings, the qaida is that we treat them as two different verses, right? They're two different verses, meaning we have to. So if I have a hadith from Bukhari and I have a hadith from Muslim that are telling me two different things, these are two different evidences. Similarly, if I have a verse that comes down in two different qira'at, it is as if I have two different verses. What do we do in usul al-fiqh when we have two different evidences? Wiping the feet and washing the feet are different things, right? They're different things. So how do we treat them? We treat them as if they are two different verses. So we can't cancel out either meaning. Both are mutawatir. We can't cancel out one and just prefer the other. We have to find a way in which both of them make sense together, and that both, because there's no evidence that either one of them is mansukh. The washing isn't mansukh. Now, the Shia and the Khawarij, more so the Shia, a little less the Khawarij, more so the Shia, because uh, they don't adhere to the rules of, right? Uh, so for some of them, wiping the foot is enough. Some of the Shia, they don't wash their feet when making wudu. And this goes back all the way to the very early ones of them. Some of them just wipe their feet, even if they're not wearing khuffayn, just their bare feet. They just wash them. So they just wipe the top of them with their hands. This is incorrect. We have to find a way in which both of them make sense. Now, some of the ulama, generally speaking, most of the ulama, they say that the verse that says to wash the feet is talking about in general, whereas the verse that says to wipe the feet is telling you to wipe if um, if and only if there is khuffayn on them. You're wearing khuffayn, then wiping becomes what is the necessary action. And so that's their way of making both of these verses work, right? Both of these verses have correct meanings that are neither of them are mansukh. Both of them are talking about different things. That is, I am in no way telling you that this is the correct way to understand the verse, or that the tafsir of this verse. There's a whole discussion. You can go to the muhaqqiqeen of any madhab. For us, you can go to al-Dardir or al-Hattab. For the Ahnaf, you can go to Ibn Abidin in his Hashia. They have long discussions of this, and they discuss all the different ways to treat these different riwayat. What is important to know is that washing is obligatory according to all of Ahl-Sunnah, complete ijma'. Praying behind someone who does not wash their feet there's a serious doubt behind the correctness of the prayer. So one should be careful uh, in terms of praying behind someone from the Shia or someone from the Khawarij, because you do not know if they have made wudu according to the mutawatir verses of the Quran, right? If somebody is differing in the dhanniyat, he's differing in the matters of difference of opinion, such as between the Maliki and the Ahnaf and the Shafi'iyya, this is fine for us, because these are dhanniyat. However, this verse is a qat'i verse. It's saying all the verses of the Quran are mutawatir. So there's no excuse when it comes to things that are mutawatir. When it comes to praying behind someone who leaves something متواتر. The only excuses that can be made is when someone leaves something from the الظنيات. طيب, we'll continue with the فرائض الوضوء, the next class, which is Monday, inshallah. If anyone has
بارك الله
any
فيك.
questions, I don't think there's time because of the Zoom, but if there's any
Yeah.
questions, please send to me in the group chat or personally. Either way, جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.